All right, welcome to your practice. Today we won't use any special particular props, so just have what you like to use on hand, and we'll start resting on the back. So setting aside any distractions around you or in the mind, and trying to let your awareness settle into your body, noticing how you feel as you rest here, and settling your awareness with the rhythm of your breath. And just being present with the rhythm of the inhale and the exhale as it moves through your body. As you find this place of stillness within your body, you'll notice that the breath is still moving you. As you become more quiet and softer, you can feel how your inhale moves you. And you can feel how your exhale moves you. So becoming more receptive to those somewhat more subtle sensations here within your body. All the while encouraging the inhales to deepen, feeling a greater sense of expansion into the belly, the ribs, and the chest. And with each exhale, feeling your breath leave your body more slowly, more gradually. And each exhale can be a reminder, an opportunity to let go of anything you don't need to hold on to. Notice whether you're holding on to any tension around the eyes or into the jaw. And invite softness and space there. And be present for a few more cycles of breath. Aware of the depth of your inhale and present with the length of your exhale. And then while you keep a connection here with your breath and with your body, start to slowly reawaken your body. Moving into your fingers, your toes, moving into the wrists and the ankles. Letting the eyes open as you feel free to find some movement as well through the head and the neck, gently rolling side to side. And then let's go ahead and bring the knees in. And just start to notice how you're feeling as you find some motion, some rocking that massages into your low back and your hips. Good, and then let's slowly release the feet to the floor and stretch the arms back. So as we find some length here, feel some wiggle into the sides of the body, just sort of waking up a little bit there, stretching through one side And then the other, maybe a yawn or two. All right, and then let's just rest the arms in any position that lets the shoulders find a bit of space through the fronts of the shoulders and the front of the chest. And then while we're here, let's find a bit of movement. We're just going to move through one leg at a time. So let's keep the right foot on the floor and draw the left knee in towards you without using your hands. So here, just notice the ribs resting towards the floor. Notice the pelvis staying centered. And as we try to keep the leg off the ground, let's try to stretch it and push through the heel towards the front of your mat. And then point your toes and pull your heel towards the buttock as your knee bends in towards you again. So push the heel out as you straighten the leg and pull the heel in towards the buttock as you bend the knee back in. So we're going to explore a bit of pushing and pulling action through both legs and arms today. So you can imagine as you do this pushing and pulling with the one leg that you're moving against a bit of resistance. Like maybe the air is, 30% thicker. Maybe you're moving through water and just push and pull. Feel that a couple more times with your breath. So you're creating tension around your hip a little bit and into your leg, but everything else is trying to stay relaxed. All right, and then let that left foot come back to the floor and just feel free to wiggle. Breathe deeply. Let's try it out on the other side. So the pelvis doesn't move. We're trying to keep it stable. We're trying to keep the ribs stable. Resting our weight into our left leg, so that's also a support as your right knee bends in, okay? So from here, let's move with the breath, pushing through the right heel away, and then pointing the toes as we pull the heel back in to bend the knee. So pushing and pulling. Yeah, and see if you can imagine you're moving against resistance as you push and even as you pull back. So might be slowing it down a little bit, helps you find that resistance action where you're engaging a little bit more through the hip, through the glute muscles. You might sense that. You might even sense it, into the calf a little bit when you point your toes and pull your heel in. Yeah, a couple more like that on this leg. And as we're finding this push and pull action through the one leg, we're of course also moving through the joints, the ankles and knees and hips. All right, let's try for two more. Good. Next time you bend the knee, we can rest that foot back to the floor. Do a little wiggle of the hips. And then this time, let's keep the right foot on the ground while we bring the left knee in. And then we're going to go up with the leg this time. So we're going to push the left heel up towards the ceiling and then point the toes. Same thing, but just the hip is at a different angle as you pull your heel towards the glute. So push up against that imagined resistance and then pull down. Feel like you're trying to really pull your heel close to the glute. Pushing out, pulling back. That's it. So now there isn't a whole lot of movement in the actual hip joint. It's really more in the knee and the ankle for this movement. There's a bit of movement in the hip, but just not quite as much as the last one. Just try that a couple more times. Noticing the muscles that engage when you bend the knee and you pull the heel in. You're engaging more through those hamstrings and calf and glute muscles. Let's try for one more. Good, and then rest that left foot back to the floor. Feel a full breath here. Resting the back ribs, feeling the pelvis centered as we bring the right knee up. Okay, so the left foot's still on the floor. The breath is going to move as we move. So you can inhale as you push through the heel up to a comfortable stretch in that leg. Doesn't have to go fully stretched. And then point the toes and pull the heel into the glute. Pushing up, pulling in and down. And just notice when you do engage like this through, this one action, notice if other areas of the body tend to tighten or grip. It could be your jaw, and for me, it's often my hands or fingers. So just noticing that tendency to grip elsewhere, and just see if you're able to let the other areas of your body that really don't need to be involved stay relaxed. Yeah. So that way you're also being mindful of not holding the breath too. You got it. Last one here. Great. And then release that. All right. So let's bring the arms into and elbows. Elbows are going to be bent at 90 degrees. So you've got your upper arms tucked in beside you and your palms are facing one another. So your fingertips point to the sky above your elbows. And then just walk your feet back so the heels are under the knees, maybe even slightly back, closer to the buttocks. But really what matters the most is you feel, of course, comfortable through the knees, but also supported through the center of the heels and out to the big toe mounds and across to the baby toe mounds, finding that tripod of support evenly through each foot, okay? And now as we press down through the arms as well, so we're pushing down through the backs of the shoulders, through the upper arms into the elbows, not to the point where our ribs lift away from the floor, but maybe to the point where the space between the shoulder blades lifts away from the floor. So just that tiny, tiny bit of space between the shoulder blades and the ground, okay? And then keeping that action in the upper body, push down through the heels. Just push down. Notice before you even lift it, what starts to engage, Pushing down through the heels. And then the second action is pulling back with the heels. So without actually moving them, can you push down and pull back as though they're wanting to get closer to the buttocks? And then go ahead and lift the hips, yeah? So you're pushing down, pulling the heels back, feeling the push of the upper arms down. That's it. And where do you feel some strength here? Where can you sense the breath supporting that strength? You got it. So the action of pushing down and pulling back through the heels is going to wake up those hamstrings and glutes a little more, you might notice. If you notice or encounter any cramps, just do what you need to do to stretch it out before you come back into this movement. You can also just, reduce the lift of the hips. All right, let's be here for another breath. Pushing down through the arms, through the feet. Really nice. And then let's slowly lower all the way back to the floor. Wiggle that out through the hips. Okay. Let's cross the right ankle over the left knee. Okay. So we'll move a little bit with the breath, utilizing some of the support through the core to lift our left foot off the ground, keeping our legs in this position. So what you might do is take your fingertips into those hip creases. And this is where we're going to try to bend from, not so much through the spine. Okay, so we're trying to keep the lower ribs moving towards the floor, the back sacrum on the ground, the back of the pelvis. So when you're ready, feel your inhale down into the belly, down into those hips. And with your exhale, see if you can broaden up and in through the belly and pull that left knee towards you, sort of pushing the knee in and up towards that same shoulder. And then slowly, as you breathe in, lower your left foot again without lifting your ribs, without arching your low back. That's the tricky part. So as you exhale, we're trying to bend from these hip creases to push the knee towards the shoulder. And then slowly lowering down towards the floor without lifting anything in the torso. So try that a couple more times. So we just get a little bit of movement there through the hips, a little bit of core engagement with breath. So I like to exhale when my left foot leaves the floor and the knee comes in, and inhale as my foot slowly lowers back to the floor. Good, and then let's keep that left foot off the floor the next time you lift it. And just let the arms come out like a T shape as you bring your legs side to side. So when you're going side to side like this with your legs in this shape, what do you feel in and around your hips and glutes? And you're finding a gentle twist through the waist. So there's some work in those obliques, those abdominal muscles that help to twist. That's it. And just going however far you go. It doesn't matter if you're going close to the ground or not. Just do what your hips are wanting, what your spine is wanting for just a couple more. Just nice, slow little movements with the breath here. And then coming back to center, see if you can hold either with your hands or a scarf or even just a sweater or something you have nearby to hold behind your left thigh. Okay, and we can stretch now through this left leg. So push through the left heel towards the ceiling as you're drawing your leg in towards you without lifting your bum. Okay, so keep the sacrum planted. And as you push up through the left heel, push the right knee forward just a tiny bit more. If you're wanting a little more in the core, you can hug up and in through the belly, lift the head and the chest. Nice. Find another breath where you are, head up or down, what feels good for you. And then lower again, lower the head and slowly bend that left knee. Bring the foot all the way down to the floor and the feet again land on the mat. Whew. How do you feel through each hip? Checking in with the hips a little there. And let's check it out on the other side. So bring your left ankle to cross over your right knee. Bring your hands to, hip bones, hip creases. You can get a sense of where your pelvis is. And try to find the weight centered evenly across the back of your pelvis. So not all the weight's over to that left buttock, not all the weight's over to the right buttock. We're going to try to find center first and find that stability in the center as we keep the back ribs resting, as we keep a sense of that width through the belly to prevent any movement, through the pelvis, low back and ribs. When you're ready, feel your exhale, draw that right foot off the floor, knee is pulling sort of in towards your shoulder, and then let your inhale slowly lower with control down, resting that right foot to the floor as lightly as you can. So keep it going at your own pace. If your left hip feels a little tighter than your right, like mine does, your right knee, you might notice, won't come as close to your belly, your shoulder. And that's okay. Just listen to those differences from each side. That's it. Good. And then next time you lift your foot, let's pause there. See if you can relax both arms in a way that releases the shoulders towards the floor. So now the shoulders are going to stay put. Now we're going to let movement come into the pelvis. So as the knees rock a little over to each side, yeah, we're finding a bit of rotation. As the pelvis rotates, and maybe the rotation comes into the waist area as well. That's it. If you want to pause on either side, feel free. When you are going to the right with your knees, you might notice more stretch sensation through that left buttock and left hip. So if it feels good to be there in that, feel free to. And just feel yourself moving from sort of the waist here. That's it, to find this gentle rotation through the pelvis. Good, and then coming back to center, you can take your hands or your scarf around the right thigh to hold on to it. Try to rest the shoulders. So when we're holding on like this, sometimes especially that left shoulder will kind of want to lift away from the floor and towards the ears. So rest it back down. That's it. As you stretch up through the right heel. So going for a comfortable stretch in the back of this right leg as you're reaching the heel high, pushing the left knee away from you a bit more. Yes, do you feel it in that left hip any further? And then maybe one more step to draw the head and chest away from the floor. Trying not to lift the shoulders closer to the ears, but away from the ground. Yeah. Really nice. And then lowering the head again, bending that right knee, releasing the foot slowly back to the ground and both feet to the floor. And while we're here, let's just take the feet wide on the mat, arms out, and do a few windshield wiper movements there. So as we're doing this, try to bring your awareness into your feet and feel when you're lifting your knees back up through center, feel like your feet sort of push down into the floor to pull your knees back up. And then you're going to push your feet into the floor to lower your knees over to the other side. So see if you can feel this action of your knees going side to side by the action of your legs. You know, instead of just it being passive, can you press your feet into the ground to help lift that hip as the knees go over to the other side? And then we're releasing back, rotating onto the back again to push and find the movement. Yeah, initiated by the feet and the legs. It's the exact same movement. It looks exactly the same from the outside, but it might feel a little different as you engage the feet and the legs more through it. Okay, and then coming back to center again. Let's hug both knees in. And we'll roll. Let's rock and roll over all the way to one side. And we'll make our way up, coming up onto hands and knees. In fact, maybe what we'll do is start more in a child's pose. So begin in child's pose more towards the back of your mat so that you have lots of space in front of you. And stretch the arms out in front of you like this. So you've got your elbows, ideally, see if you can let them lift away from the floor. If it doesn't feel good, like in your shoulders, to straighten the arms, then just let the elbows come towards the floor. And then see if you can have your knees pointing forward. So your head is going to be a little off the ground, most likely, because your belly and chest are resting on your thighs. So stretching the arms as far forward as you can. We're going to push down through our hands and try to pull ourselves up by pushing forward and down through the palms. That's it. And then we're going to push forward and down through the palms to bring ourselves back towards this sort of extended child's pose. So try not to move the hands as you press down and pull without actually moving the hands to bring yourself up. And then push forward and down through the palms to bring your hips back. So just feel that action a couple more times. Yeah. And the slower you move, the more you'll be able to feel that action. A slow pulling of ourselves up onto all fours, and a slow push as we lower back, hips towards heels. Try it one more time. Yeah. What do you find maybe a little more challenging? The push or the pull? And then let's come back up onto hands and knees and just have your hands pretty much right under the shoulders, knees below the hips. And we're going to do we're not going to move this time. We're going to hold table as we push down through the palms. Feel as though you're wanting to pull the heels of your hands towards your knees, but they're stuck. So push down and pull back. And at the same time, feel your knees and legs pushing down and pulling forward. So pushing down and pulling back with the hands, pushing down and pulling forward with the knees. What do you feel firing up here? Now, can you feel that as you breathe? That's it. Really nice. And then relax it. Whew. Maybe just loosen up a little with some movement through the spine. You can do cats and cows, rounding and arching. You can go for some side bend movement, or even some rib circles. Any sort of movement that you want to get into here through the waist and ribs and spine. Go for it. All right. And then let's move a little more from this table pose. Let's stretch the right leg back. So we've got, the left leg back. We're going to stay rooted on the right leg. Okay? So the right knee, right foot is still on the floor as we stretch the left leg up to about hip height. So let's bring the other arm to reach forward. So we're reaching forward. And then on the exhale, we're going to pull knee and elbow in sort of towards the opposite or the same hip or shoulder as we round the back, yeah? And then inhale and reach and stretch. On the exhale, pull up and in through the belly as the knee and the elbow pull into center. So there's an element of balance here. So the slower you move, the more you can catch yourself through those wobbles that will inevitably come. Let's try for one more. Each time you're rounding, you're pulling everything in and up, but you're also pushing down through that left hand. That's it. Nice. And then let's come back onto hands and knees and just take a moment to rest. Feel free to circle into that left wrist especially. And let's just soften into a comfortable resting position here. And as you're here, as you let the weight of your head rest and the weight of your hips sink to the heels, can you feel your breath moving into your back as it slows down? All right, let's come back with the arms stretched out, knees pointing forward, press down through the hands, pull ourselves up in that strong way into our table pose. So keep the push down through the right hand and the left knee while the right leg stretches back to about hip height and the left arm reaches forward. Feel your inhale And as you exhale, pull your knee and your elbow in as we round through the back. Can you draw that heel up towards the buttock more? And then inhale and stretch. Exhale, pull as you push through the right hand. That's it. So we're lengthening with the inhale and then really rounding and pulling up and in with the exhale. So feel your breath as you take it nice and slow. Each side's a little different when it comes to this movement. Good, last one here. Push the floor away as we round away from the ground, and then stretch for one last time before you land back into child's pose or any preferred softening position. And that's it. Feel the length of your exhales slowing down, making room for a deeper breath to flow in. Okay, let's come with the arms stretched out again. Knees pointing forward. Press forward and down through those hands and pull yourself back up. Finding a bit of work in those front abdominal muscles. So let's curl the toes under and we'll do the rocking table pose, but instead of, just rocking forward and back, let's do the push and pull. So when we rock forward, we're pulling our hands sort of back as we push them down. And then when we rock back, we're pushing forward and down through the hands. So pulling the hands as you go forward, pushing forward and down through the hands as you go back. That's it. And the whole time, can you keep your spine feeling long from head to tail through its natural curves? That's it. What muscles are you feeling starting to engage here? Maybe under those armpits, side ribs, belly. Yeah, that's it. Pushing and pulling. Just adding that extra intention through the movement. Good. Next time you bring yourself back by pushing forward through the hands, let's be here. Shoulders are a little behind the wrists so that you can slowly lift your knees and lift the hips. Keep pushing forward and down through the hands as you're lifting through the hips and then stretching down and back through those heels. That's it. Let's just find our downward dog in a moment of stillness here, or any sort of movement you're wanting in this shape. So the arms are working as we press forward and down through the hands, but we also want to find the support in the legs, right? So feel your inner thighs pushing back. Inner thighs reaching or almost wanting to kind of look more towards the back of the room. And with your feet, can your feet, without moving them, pull away from one another slightly? That's it. So as the feet are on the floor, they're also pulling apart. What does that do to your legs as you return to your breath here? Really nice. Let's go ahead and walk the hands and the feet towards each other. So coming into a standing forward bend. Resting over the legs, dangling through the arms, through the head. Feel a nice release in the back. Have as much of a bend through the knees as you need to keep the back of the legs comfortably stretched. If you feel it a lot behind the knees or up by the buttocks, I'd say bend the knees more or even just come up higher with the upper body. Feel how your breath is as you're here half upside down for another cycle or two. So now start to push down through your feet, like actively press your feet down and even do that gentle pull of your feet kind of away from one another at the same time, keeping a little bend in those knees. So as you stay active through the legs, pushing down and pulling away from one another, start to curl the tailbone towards the heels, pulling up through the belly to round yourself up, rolling to standing. And we'll just find a bit of movement first through the feet, I think. So standing in mountain pose, let's get a sense of where your shoulders sit. Above the hips, head above the shoulders, and feel your tailbone a little heavier as your head and neck are light. So crown of the head lifts towards the ceiling, tailbone draws towards the ground. Pubic bone is also sort of lifting towards the ceiling as the pubic bone or as the tailbone draws down. So with that in mind, staying centered through the whole body, let's simply lift both arms, reach them forward and up, breathing in, and then we'll exhale and lower the arms down. And again, inhale, lift the arms. Try not to bring your ribs forward or change the position of your pelvis. And exhale the arms down. So we're trying to just lift the arms. Inhaling, trying not to let the spine move, the hips move, the ribs move. So we're trying to keep everything in as we exhale to lower. Now, let's see if we can rise up onto the heels as we find that same movement in the arms. So breathing in, lift the heels, rise to the toes. Arms float up. And exhaling, trying to lower slowly the heels as the hands come back beside you. Breathing in to raise up onto the toes, arms floating up, letting the exhale bring you slowly down to the heels as the hands lower. Try that a couple more times on your own and feel your spine stay tall through the center. Good, last one. Hips are staying right above those heels. Okay. Then keeping the feet on the floor, just inhale the arms up. That's it. So we're here standing on 2 feet with the arms lifting. And then let's bend at the hips and at the knees, back and down. And as we do this, can you still feel the lift of your spine up? But you're also maybe pushing. Let's try to push down through the feet and feel the feet pushing or pulling away from one another at the same time. So as we're in this little chair pose, doesn't matter how deep the knees are bent, what matters is you're pressing down through the feet and pulling them away from one another as you're here. Notice how that changes the sensations through the legs as you're breathing. Really nice. Can we rise up onto the toes and still be here? Maybe for half a breath or a full breath. Can you find your balance as you push your feet down and away from one another still? That's the tricky part. Whew. Really nice. And then lower the heels, come forward and just let the upper body dangle over the length of the legs. That's it. Feel free to do a little sway, a little elephant's trunk movement. All right, let's inhale and push down through the feet. Reach the arms wide, coming up strong and tall as you lift overhead. And then exhale the hands down through center. Relax that, shake it out a little. Maybe we'll stand near the back of the mat to step forward a couple times. So let's just do a little shifting of weight from one foot to the other. That's all a walk is, finding balance for a moment on one foot, then the other foot. So let's start out by stepping the left foot forward. Feel the weight shift into that left leg. You're balancing on your left leg for a moment to step slowly your right foot forward. That's it. Shifting your weight now over your right foot. Feel that. Feel how your hips come over your front foot. Your shoulders are still above your hips. Head is still above the shoulders as we bring the weight into the left foot. Find your weight into your left foot, stepping your right foot forward. And then pause on your right foot at the front of your mat. Lift off for a moment with that back knee bending, heel towards the buttock. Pull the heel towards the glute as you push through the right foot into the floor. That's it. And then let's step back with this left foot. So now we're bringing our weight back. I know going backwards is a little different. So can you balance on your left foot to step your right foot back behind you, landing on the toes first, and then carrying the weight into your heel. That's it, finding the weight into your back foot as you step your left foot back. So we're here with the left foot behind us, the right foot in front. So let's go ahead and find a bit of balance with movement here. Start out just with your hands on your hips. Your feet and your hips, your whole body is still facing forward. We're gonna push our weight into our right foot, balance all the weight into that right foot as we lift the left knee in front. So pull up on the left knee as you push down through your right leg. And then we're gonna push this left heel back as we pivot a little forward over that front leg. Push down through your right foot, pull up with the left knee as you stand tall again, and then push back with the left leg. Really emphasize that push back when you come forward with your upper body. So pull the left knee up through center, and then push the left heel back. We can do a little movement even with the arms here. As you pull the heel or the knee up, let's take the hands in front of the shoulders. We're going to push forward with our hands as we push back with our left heel. Then we can pull everything back in. So you can make a fist and pull back as you lift that left knee. Let's try that one more time. Push through the heel, back, hands forward, and then pull everything back up, knee up, elbows back. Good, and then rest it. Shake it out in that right leg. You might have felt it. Where did you feel it? For me, it was in my ankle, lower calf. That's just where I'm feeling a little weaker these days. So it could be for you up by the glute or thigh. Okay. So let's continue. Let's just go back to the back of the mat. Find mountain pose. Find stillness in your mountain pose for a moment. Feel the stability of both feet under your hips. Notice the breath as it slows down here. So this time we're going to bring our weight into our left leg to step our right foot forward. So we'll do a slow walking forward with the right heel landing and then the toes, and we're shifting our balance now over that right leg, which just got worked, so it likely feels a little different. And then stepping the left foot forward as slowly as we can while keeping a sense of control over the movement. Shifting our weight into that left leg so we can lift off the right, step slowly forward. Slowing our walk down is a lot harder than walking fast in some ways, right? We've got to find our balance for a little longer. Left foot steps forward for the last time. So we're on our left leg. Let's bring all of our weight into our left leg as we pull the right heel towards the buttock. So we're pulling heel towards glute. That knee is pointing down from the hip. And we're also trying to push down through our standing leg, pushing into our left foot while we pull the right heel to glute. Feel this for a breath. And then let's go backwards. Step the right foot back, toes land, heel lands. Can we balance our weight into our back leg, our right leg, so we can step the left foot back? Shifting our weight into our left foot, stepping the right foot back. And let's pause here. Left foot is forward, right leg is a little behind us. Are we ready? So we're going to bring more weight into our front foot. We're going to push down through our left foot while we lift the right knee up. So feel free to have your hands in any position. Arms open, hands to hips. And then we're pushing back with our right heel right back as we go forward a little over our standing leg. And then we're coming back up and pulling that right heel in and up as high as it goes. And then pushing back again through the heel as we pivot forward. So see if you can feel the control and stability through the core to help you with that movement. To keep it the balance, feel free to push forward with your hands as you push back with your heel. And when you pull the knee up, you can make fists, pulling back with your elbows. That's it. Pushing forward as you push back with your heel to come forward. Pulling back as you lift your knee up. I know moving with balance is so much harder than just finding stillness. Let's try for one more. Very good. Pull through that right knee up, push through the left leg down, and then land. Whew. Into both feet and give the legs a wee shake. All right. So slowing things down, slowing down the transitions. You can notice the warmth that it brings you through the muscles. Really waking up those legs a little bit today. And the core too. So let's take the feet a little wider apart. Turn the toes out slightly more than the heels. Toes are turning out. Heels are in. Feet are maybe a little wider than shoulder distance. And then let's go into a bit of a squat. So we'll bend the knees. Just a small squat. Because what we're going to work on is moving. We're going to move. We're going to keep one leg straight while the other knee bends. So have your arms in any position you like. I've got mine on my hips here. And as we push through the left heel, push the left leg to straighten it. Push down through the left foot, and you'll notice you straighten your leg. And then push into your right foot and feel how that straightens the leg. So push and let yourself move. Push and let yourself move. Keep pushing, and you alternate which leg pushes. So inevitably my arms follow this movement. I end up pushing through my arm and my leg together. I find it helps. Okay, so push and let the weight shift. sort of over into that other knee that bends. Push. So when you push into your foot, you end up straightening and sort of moving your upper body away from it, right? As you push your foot down into the floor, your upper body goes in the opposite direction. So just feel that cause and effect movement a couple more times with breath. Push. Last one, push. Okay, let's once again find middle. Both knees bent, hips in the center. And this time, we're gonna push down, but we're also going to pull. So just like that same sort of action we did in bridge, where we were pulling the heels towards the buttocks. Of course, our legs are wider and the heels are going to be pulling in more at this angle, right? So let's push down through the left heel, but instead of pushing, sort of feeling like we're pushing the floor away from us, we're going to try to feel like we're pulling the floor towards us. So pull in. That's it. So push and pull towards you. Feel like your heel wants to drag towards you. And just notice, yeah, what is engaging here? How different does this feel? When you're pushing down through the heel and trying to feel like you're wanting to drag it, you end up letting your upper body move towards the heel, right? It's like you're pulling your upper body towards your heel. Pulling your upper body towards your heel in each direction. So, and again, my arms follow the action of the legs. So feel free to find that movement or any other movement that helps you find and feel this action of pressing down and pulling towards center. Good. Find it a couple more times in each direction. Breath supporting you. Last one in each direction here. All right. Forget which one I started with. And then come on back to center. Ooh, how are those thighs feeling? Maybe some more awake into those inner thighs. High groin muscles there. Okay. So let's stretch them out a little as we bend the knees away from one another, sinking straight down through the hips. We can come forward a bit. So the bum kind of reaches back as we go forward. And you just want to make sure, your knees and toes are pointing in the same direction on each leg. And then we can rest the forearms on our inner thighs. And we can gently press out on the thighs. But at the same time, press your thighs into your arms so you don't overstretch. So you're keeping a little bit of engagement. And if it feels good to just sort of shift the hips a little side to side as you're here, you can give that a try. That's it. Really nice. All right, let's lift the heels, pivot on those toes, to turn the toes to face the long edge of your mat, coming into a wide-legged forward bend so the hands can come to the floor or to a table or a couple blocks or even just holding on to the elbows. So a nice passive stretch now through the legs and through the back. Yeah, feel your breath moving gently. Slow the breath down little by little. Okay. And then let's go ahead and walk the hands over towards one foot as we turn that foot to face the front of the mat. So whatever the front of the mat is for you, you're in a lunge for a moment. And we're going to step that into downward facing dog. So can we pause and find our downward dog so that we can start to move from downward dog into plank. And we're going to do it in the way that we did similarly, moving in that rocking table position, where when we go forward, we're going to push down and pull, sort of feel like the palms are pulling towards the feet, and even the feet are pulling towards the hands. And then moving back into downward dog, we're going to push the floor away, forward and down through the hands. All right? So let's find the breath. Feel an inhale in your downward dog. And as you exhale, curl the tailbone back. Draw the pubic bone up and pull your hands towards your feet and your feet towards your hands as you're in plank. Can you feel your inhale there? And then with your exhale, push forward and down through those hands as you stretch back and down through the heels. Feel your inhale where you are. And as you exhale, press down through the hands. Feel your hands sort of pulling towards your feet, feet towards your hands as you move to plank. Be there for your inhale. And let your exhale push the floor away as you go back to downward dog. So we're staying where we are for the breath in and using the exhale to power the movement back into plank. And as we're in plank, feel the hands and feet pulling towards each other. And then when you're going back into downward dog, push the floor away. One more. Go at your own pace. Really good. Last time, I know I said one more, but I want to get back into plank. So when you're ready, on your next exhale again, try to come forward into plank. Whether the knees are down or not, you're pulling your knees or your feet towards your hands, hands towards your knees or feet. Yeah? Notice how that engages a little differently. And then lower the knees so you can lower all the way towards the floor. Whew. Relax and rest. So, as you're resting on your belly here, feel free to make a pillow for your head and let everything soften and melt into the support of the ground. So let's explore Cobra Pose. And we'll do it with just involving, a little more of that action of the push or pull action. So we'll try it maybe in 2 different ways and just see how it changes things. So let's try it the first way, which is usually when we lift up into a back bend, we think of ourselves as pushing away from the floor, right? So let's see how that feels. Bring your forehead to the ground and the tops of the feet onto the floor, front hips, pubic bone into the ground, and try to feel your tailbone reaching back towards your feet. And then your hands, place them beside your chest, maybe a little behind your shoulders. Elbows are drawing in, pointing back. So just start out by feeling the shoulder blades against your back and the neck a little longer. Okay. So how does it feel to push forward and down through the hands as you lift your head and chest? So just a small cobra. Don't go to the point where you're pushing so much that you end up sort of losing the support in your shoulders. So go only as far up as you can go, keeping comfortable in your low back, but also keeping your shoulders against your back and away from your ears. That's it. So push forward and down through those hands. Notice what engages for you as you do it that way for another breath. Good. And then relax slowly down to the floor. Maybe turn your head to one side. Arms can relax in any position. So you can just notice the breath moving across your upper middle back there. And then let's try it out the other way. So the forehead, once again, starts on the ground. Tops of feet on the floor, so you feel the support of the legs, you know? So the legs are reaching back, the tailbone is reaching back, pubic bone sort of nuzzling into the floor there. Let's bend the elbows, hands beside the chest. So instead of pushing forward and down through the hands, can you push down but feel like you want to pull your hands back, you know? But they're stuck, they're not going to move. So you're pushing down and you're pulling back. And feel how that action brings maybe even a little more of the pull through the arms, from the shoulders down through the upper arms and elbows. So as you push forward and down through the hands, down and back through the hands, push down and pull back, try to lift the head and chest. How does this feel? It's not that really one is any better than the other, but they just engage differently. You might be able to sense maybe a little more sensation for me in my upper arms, my triceps, and even into my side ribs, serratus anterior muscles. So feel what you feel as you press down and pull back here in your cobra. Whew, really nice. And then let it go. Rest the head to the other side. Rest the arms. And just feel the front of your body softening and melting again into the ground with each exhale. All right, let's bring the hands again to the floor beside the chest. So we're going to be pushing down in order to lift up, but see if you can first. So sometimes when we lift up, right, we do a banana. We lift the head, chest, and then hips. And then, you know, we also lower the same way. So see if you can lift your hips and your chest more together. So you're trying to lift your hips as you lift your chest. So the thing to do is to not lift just yet, and instead just push down through your hands without actually lifting off the floor. Can you feel how your chest gets lighter? And then you want to try to get your pubic bone lighter, belly lighter. That's it. So everything is drawing up and in away from the floor, and then push to try to lift everything up together as best you can. Requires a lot in those arms. And then we'll go back towards child's pose. And I think we'll work on that a little more in the future. So stay tuned. There's always more to explore. All right. Okay, when you're ready, let's sit up and stretch out the legs in front. All right, so feel free to sit up on a little support if you want, if you have a pillow or a blanket or a bolster or something. Let's start with both legs stretched out. Think. So find your spine's length in the center, wiggling and settling into both sitting bones so you can bring your shoulders up over your hips. Fingers and toes, toes and knees pointing to the sky. Let's just bring both arms out in front of us. So we'll start to move through one leg and both arms. So we're going to keep the right leg where it is, straight. Push down a little more though through that right leg so it acts as a bit of support. As you push it into the floor, you're going to be able to maybe lift that left foot even just a little off the floor. You can also just drag it along your mat, okay, if it doesn't want to lift to do this movement. So any amount of lift or lightness in that left leg. And then when we bend the knee, we're gonna also pull back with the arms, yeah? And then stretch the arms in front as we straighten the leg again. So we're trying to kind of pull the heel towards the groin, shoulders back, and then push through the heel as we reach the arms forward. And just try that a couple more times as best you can. Again, like I said, feel free to just drag slowly, lightly the heel along the floor instead, okay? And you're still pushing and pulling. You got it. Try for one last one. When you pull the heel in this time, let's keep it there. Let that left knee fall out to the side, so the foot's somewhere on that inner leg. And let's just take the hands to those shoulders. Rest, encourage the shoulders to come down the back. And then let's start to just find a gentle twist in each direction. Yeah, just turning in each direction here as we keep the legs in this position. Feeling our spine stay nice and tall through the center as we move through the waist, the ribs. And then next time you turn to the right, let's hold that twist. So we can rest the right arm out to the floor, left hand on the opposite leg. And here, sometimes we have the tendency when we're in twists to pull with our arms. And I really try to kind of discourage that. Because sometimes, I mean, it all depends on what's going on in your back, but it's more likely to lead to injury when we pull with our arms, our spine deeper into a twist. And instead of using the arms as much, see if there's a way for you to find the support to twist you from the core. So each exhale is an opportunity to engage the core a little more, broadening and lifting up and in through the belly and letting that support your twist rather than finding it all externally from the arms. Yeah, and it'll be healthier for the spine. Good, one more breath there. Good, as you inhale, let's come back to center. All right, stretch out the legs, give them a little shake. We'll do that same fun on the other side. Start with both legs in front. Find both sitting bones again. Your spine tall through the center. So now you want to establish the connection with your left leg. So push down through your left leg so that as you're maybe here with your arms in front of you, you can get lighter on that right leg by pushing down more through the left leg. Imagine that. Yes. And you're finding that support through the belly too. Now pull back and pull the heel towards the groin and then push and pull. Find that action with each breath. You're trying to feel your knee will turn out a little bit as you're bending the knee, you know? So just let it move, let your hip go in whatever direction it wants to keep this movement comfortable, yeah, and possible. Let's go for one more. Pull the heel in without using the hands and rest your knee out to the side. And let's rest again, hands on the shoulders and elbows maybe pointing away from the sides as we turn in one direction and then the other direction. So can you feel the action of your obliques? So they're these lovely muscles that crisscross, internal obliques and external obliques, and they help us twist. So that's what we're trying to find the support from primarily as we do these twists. Yeah. And so next time you turn to the left, can you find that twist supported by the waist, the abdominal muscles, the obliques, and we can then just rest the arms, just let them relax. Shoulders relax. We're not pulling ourselves around by the hands. We're finding the breath, moving in, maybe taking us out of the twist a little, right? And then with the exhale, as we draw up and in through the belly for support, we can stay and find the twist maybe slightly deeper. But with each inhale, we're just softening, letting the breath in. Each exhale, finding the support again. That's it. All right, let's inhale back to center. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Do just a little kind of butterfly flutter of the knees up and down. Maybe we'll revisit a bit of stretch in those inner thighs so we can come forward as much or as little as you like with a flat back if you prefer, or a nice gentle continuous even arc through the spine to stretch the back a little more. So your choice, finding where you need some space or support while you're here, noticing each breath. And then can you start to stack the spine to sitting tall again until your shoulders are once again above those hips, head above the shoulders. Let's take the hands to the outer knees, guide the knees together, stretch out the legs again. You can lean back if you want, just give the legs a wee shake. And when you're ready, coming off your support, so you can come onto the back, maybe bring a bolster under the legs, or a pillow under the head. Let's once again settle the weight of our body into a comfortable alignment here. Letting our spine rest within its natural curves. Feeling our limbs find a position that feels comfortable for the hips and the shoulders, the hands and the feet. Just feel the space inside your body, open and receptive to the movements of your breath. And just open up to those gentle waves of breath moving within. And then as you continue to rest here, just once again, let the breath deepen. And start to reawaken your body with some gentle movements through the fingers and toes and wrists and ankles. And feel free to enjoy a full body stretch if you'd like before you bend the knees. Resting over onto your side with your knees bent. And come on up into any comfortable seated position for a moment here. Finding your spine in the center. Let the hands touch in front of the heart. Take a moment to acknowledge your practice this evening, giving thanks for being here. And I thank you for joining me.